Hey everyone, this is episode 8, where we change some important settings to allow us to simulate real time in OpenTTD. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to my OpenTTD series episode 8. At least I got it right this episode. Today I'm going to go through some big changes to some of the settings in this playthrough, so stay tuned to those. The idea of the changes that I'm going to be making and kind of walking you through is to help simulate some more realistic timetables. And previously, or I guess the default setting of the game, is that timetables are set in days, and as we know the days pass quite quickly. A year in OpenTTD is roughly about 15 minutes of real time if you let the game play in normal speed. And what we're looking to do today is to make changes to do the timetabling in minutes. Now you might be eagle-eyed and spot a few things on the map on the game screen here, and we'll get into it in a minute. So I've been testing it quite a bit between episodes. So I've done a little bit of work in between episodes, and as you can see, we've got these high-speed trains here in the Kingston upon Hull station. We'll get onto those in a minute. But talking about the 3 or 4 settings that allow us to kind of try and mimic the game passing in real time. So I'll just unpause the game and you'll kind of see it working in the background. So there are 4 things that I've changed since the last episode. The first one is day length factor, second one is ticks per minute, and then some of the display settings around showing the time in minutes rather than days in timetabling, and showing the date in the switching off the fact that you can show the date in the status bar. So we'll get into each of those in particular on the settings. So I'll show you you've changed those. You go into settings, depending on how you like to see your settings. I go into expert and then type in here. So for day length factor in here, I've changed it to 35, so default value is 1. So what this means, it slows the game down. So if you think about it, the production of let's say passengers in the town is slower. Okay, so there's not going to be as quickly generated here at all of the stations for passengers, for mail and other things if we was doing any cargo for any of the industries. I've set it to 35. Looking on the kind of some of the forums and other posts on like Reddit or on Discord, 35 is a good setting to kind of try and simulate roughly around a kind of a day in when you're starting to use time in real time in minutes down the bottom down it. Oh, you see, you can't really see that setting. Let me drag that into there. So yeah, so let me just double check. So for day length factor, so you can see that I've changed that to 35. So to do that, you can either toggle the arrows here or double click and type in a value of 35. If you want to go back to default, just click the default and it'll change it back to the default value there. So it's gone back to 1. I'm going to put it back to 35. Okay, for day length factor. The second one is ticks per minute. Now a tick is a kind of a computer amount for every time it does a computation. So the default value for ticks per minute is 74. So they'll have generally for a minute down here, a minute of game time, not a minute of real time, will be set by the ticks per minute. I think in some regards that might be dependent on your CPU speed of those sorts of things. But I think roughly it's the same for everyone. And again, reading on that on some the kind of discussion boards that I've mentioned before, that there are a couple of options that people have suggested. So it's around, the most recent setting that I've seen is around 1870 is the value for ticks per minute, which hopefully you can kind of see that I'm trying to mimic that this to be as close to a minute as possible. You know, I think it's a couple of seconds off, but I'm not going to play around with it too much. And yeah, I think some people might have gone like 1640 or something like that. I think you've just got to find what value works well for you on that one. For that one. Now, two of the other ones are in the kind of the wall clock setting, or the group of settings here, which is alongside ticks per minute. So what I've done is show time in minutes rather than days. So I've ticked that off. You can see that changes, toggles off and on down there. So in the background, actually, the date is still there, but you're just representing kind of a time. So the minute's 15:43, but in the background, it's kind of, you know, it's 1985 for the game to work. So it's the game still really simulating it in days in the background. Your save game will be the same. The save will have a date on it and things like that. So I've put it onto on, so we get a time. You can as well, if you wanted to put the full date on there. So I could put the full date and the time. But what you'll find is that the date increments faster than the time on there. So maybe every, I don't know, every 10 minutes or so, see they've just jumped up, but we haven't gone around a full day, so it is a bit confusing having the date and the time. So I'll just show the time, so I switch that to none. So that's a quick run through of the settings there. And just a reminder, it was day length factor, change that to 35, ticks per minute, see here 1870, and then changing some of the wall clock settings on there. Okay, now what has that allowed us to do? Well, what it's allowed us to do is to go to trains like this one, and when we're going to timetables, you can see on here it's now for minutes. Okay, now these again will be roughly real life minutes, and what that's allowed me to do easier is to use something which is a feature of the JGR patch pack, is scheduled dispatch. And with, you know, there's some tutorials on that. I could talk about it a little bit. In here, what you can do is you can set up for this timetable how often. So if I click on here, look on here, what you can see in here is the fact that I've got, so I'm just clearing my notes. In here, what you can see is I've got trains running, or so they'll be expected to depart. So you can see here the main one where it's expecting the scheduled dispatch is from Hull. This service, just a reminder, goes from Hull to York and back. So I've set it up from 6 o'clock in the morning every hour. So there's one every hour on the clock, on the hour. A service departs, but then also one at 40 minutes past the hour, or 22 the next hour. So as you can see, those are all scheduled. And the good thing with scheduled dispatch, it tells you how many vehicles you need. Okay, so it'll go like clockwork every hour. You know, on all of these times, a train will be expected to depart, which is quite handy. Now, the reason why I've changed the timetable into the clock at this point is the fact that I want both a local service, which was these, which we show that we got up and running last time, but also wanted these high-speed trains to be running as well. So the line from Hull all the way down that we did to Selby is a single line. Okay, now what we don't want is, if this train is going down the line towards Hull, what we don't want is a high-speed train to come along and kind of get blocked behind it. Okay, so what we need to do is kind of do some kind of calculations to work out how long these slow trains are going to get towards the end to go down here, and then we can dispatch a faster train so it's not going to get blocked by the slower train. Okay, now we're doing that because this one is expected to, the faster services are going every 90 minutes, either on the hour or every half hour, and just realised that that might block then the slower service might block the faster service on those hours, so we'll have to maybe edit those. Let's do some testing of those. But the idea is that these leave and the high-speed services leave, and there's no, I guess, disruption, confliction of service all the way down this line to Selby, and then out to the fast line on the East Coast Main Line down here. Okay, so I've done a bit of calculations on these, and that's why I started putting these every 90 minutes, and that's why on these ones they were going every on the hour and at 40 minutes past. But as we've just realised that there are some here at 8 which are going to conflict with each other, so we might need to do a little bit more testing on that one. Unfortunately, yeah, we'll probably have to do some more testing on that one. The tricky thing then is to then figure out and calculate that it's the kind of the opposite, that we don't, when they're making, both services are making their return journey down this branch line, that we don't want them to conflict with each other either. So it's taken a little bit of work to do some calculations on that. I want to kind of show that visually, maybe some charts or something like that. I've seen a few, been doing a bit of research around the train services and just kind of figuring out how timetabling works in real life. It's not my expertise. I definitely don't work in that area. I work in quite a different area of the world, so nothing to do with trains. But it's something I'm learning and trying to get into here. So just to kind of show you the timetable on here, this one is here. It's expected to depart at, let's go 5 o'clock, so it's got quite a while. I wonder why that's there so early. Departing at 5 o'clock, and it's 10 to 6, so it's going to be sat there for quite a while. And this one is going at, well, again, this one's going at, it's 29 minutes early, these two, and that one's 109 minutes early, so very, very early. So let's speed up time a little bit. Let's see some of these services running or departing from Hull. As you can see, we've got some here. They're kind of being stabled in the yard. Let's have a look at this one. So this high-speed train is, oh, that's even further, so that's down here, so it's still got quite a while to run around and end up arriving and then departing, so it's quite a while. Let's see what we've got. Let's fast forward the time a little bit. As I've been mentioning, I've been testing this quite a bit, so I might be a little bit out of sync with some of my tests. So there's this one here that has just departed. See there, that was the 1820, although it's only 1600, why is that? That'll be for the next time round, so it's 1601 due into Hessel. The also good thing about the JGR patch pack is that they have this lovely departures board over here. Okay, which is quite handy. So it shows the next lot of departures. So the next one is the 1640 to York, which is another local service, and then we've got the two departing here. So as you can tell, these might conflict with each other, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of faffing around with the timetables in between episodes, I think. Or we could do that, I guess we could do that now, couldn't we? So we could take this train here, open up the schedule dispatch menu. So what we might end up doing is, I don't think we can adjust, can't adjust departure slots. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause the game, and for all of these, for the on the hour ones, we're going to delete them. So you can just click the X on here, X, Okay, so I'm going through, so I'm leaving the 40 in there. Guess I could have deleted all of them, but let's leave them all in. That might mess up some trains that are running. And then what we could do is we can, if we click hold control when adding departure slot, it can set multiple departure slots. So we'll go to 6:10 to give it a little bit of time between services, and then every hour we want, so every 1 hour, and we're going to end it at 2100, so 2110. If I click add, that'll just fill in. That'll quite check like that. So you can set repeats, you don't have to add them every, manually every so often. So if we now go back to the departure board on here, see it's already changed it, so 1710. Okay, so we've got an hour, so let's fast forward. So it's down there, 16:03, we'll just fast forward, holding tab to hold the fast forward sign. Let's see if there's any other action going on down here. Not so far, but it's getting quite full. Is the high-speed train. The one thing I've noticed though is that these high-speed services don't seem to make much money. They seem to lose quite a bit of money. So I need to have a look at some of the dynamics about the money. A lot of there are quite a bit of warnings around changing the day length factor in the game. It might make some of the economic side of things break a little bit. Although in the grand scheme of things, we're doing quite well with money. We're making, last year. Well, I guess it's not really years, is it? But we're making money as the years tick on. So that's not too bad. The money's going up, so that's the main thing. So there's the. So that's early again, isn't it? Or is that running on time? So we've got the second train in that. And that's going to depart 18:30, so that's like sat there for quite a while. Wonder why it gets there so early. Have to look at that, I think. There's the option for that about why it takes so long. Or why it sits there for so long. Sorry. So it's 16:30, so we'll have the next local service departing soon. Don't have any new trains yet. So there's the local service departing, 16:40. And then we'll have this next one, which I guess is this one. Yeah, that's quite good. I didn't realise that you can click onto here on which train is which is quite good. So I think what I'm going to do, so whilst we're waiting for that waiting for these to depart, so what I'm going to do in between is do a little bit of testing around the services that go from York all the way down to London King's Cross. So what I want to do is do a similar sort of thing and try and evenly space out the services. So the services that run down here stop more frequently than Hull services. The Hull services, as you can see here, only call at Doncaster and Peterborough, whereas the York services, we get the departure board here, go to King's Cross. I thought they stopped at more places. Oh, they stop at the same. I was expecting them to stop at more, so there's Doncaster. Another don't. But ultimately what I'd like to do is try and figure out a way to evenly space them out, because you don't want a train coming down the line that is, really close together. You want a reasonable separation between the services, which is which I would like to do. So I need to do a little bit of testing, a little bit of engineering working out the services, you know, how long they take to run down that line, and doing a few calculations in a spreadsheet. I say I'm going to try and do some kind of visualizations around the plan of the timetables if I get around to doing that. That'd be quite good. Then I can show you what that looks like in a bit more of a visual way. At the minute we don't have that many services going, but we'll see. So we're coming up to 5 o'clock. So we're expecting the high-speed service, this one, train 38, to depart, and that should depart any minute now. So that's going to get ahead of the slower service. And that's why we're giving it a little bit more room in between, just to allow, if there's a little bit of, I guess, if it's busy at the junction. And what I've also done between our episodes is kind of added some speed restrictions, particularly on this branch line here. So if you're in this section, even if you're departing, you'll be at 30. You'll then accelerate up to 60 for 2 or 3 signal blocks. It's because I'm expecting this to get a little bit busier, maybe as the towns expand and maybe link together. A bit more of a metropolitan feel. So then once by this one, it'll increase up to 85. Going through next station for a couple more signal blocks. No, so this one is, I've set it to limit it to 85 because this will be a rural sort of branch line, and I don't want it to go to its full maximum speed. Once it gets on the main line, it'll then be released onto its maximum speed. So that's off on its travels, and then the next one will depart. What's then interesting is that we'll then have, oh here it is, here's this one. This one's coming back, and what I've had to do is add a little bit of time onto the return journey. Can't see it there, can you? This is the return journey. As you can see, then try to get this local service to slot in behind. And on the timetable, I don't know if you noticed, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, I've tried to have like a regular 5-minute stop station at terminus stations, or if it's going around, we then go for 10 minutes. Oh, I need to sort that out. 10 minutes, because I don't want the trains to overtake. That was just a temporary thing during testing. So back to the timetable. So I've set them up for 10 minutes at their kind of terminus stations, and then maybe 15 minutes in the yards and at the depots, or 10 minutes. So 5 minutes at stopping stations. But as you see here at York, I've had to add on some extra time, so it was at 10 minutes, and to make sure that this local service kind of sneaked in behind this one, because we don't want it in front, as I mentioned before, it'll block it. So this one goes in so this train will go in behind this one, which means that I've had to add on an extra 15 minutes, so a 15-minute delay for that one to then go in and make sure it doesn't block the faster service. As you see there, I've done the opposite of the speed restriction, so it's coming in, it slows down to 65, and then as it's going into the station, slow it down to 30. Okay. So, hopefully that explains some of the changes that we've made for timetabling. Hopefully it makes it easier for us when we're going to start doing more of this scheduled dispatch. So I think over the next episodes, we'll, as I said, we'll get this services from York down to London in a similar vein, but in a way that doesn't conflict each other. So these are every 90 minutes. So maybe the ones from York are in the kind of on the hour, shall we say, or every half an hour. It's quite a busy one, but maybe not the half hour that they come down. We're still not getting lots of passengers coming through. but it's still early days. As you can see, the City of London is slowly building out to this area that we've got here, and also across the rivers. That's good. So those are building up nicely. I do have at the minute, that towns and cities can build roads, so I've got those built turned on. But what we also should do then is do a similar vein for the underground services and also the West Coast Main Line as well. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably not going to promise to do all of that during between episodes, but as we go along, we'll get round to it. So yeah, so hopefully that's explained the reasoning for changing some of the settings. So we've got a time down here. It helps us to maybe plan when we start having more of a complex network together. I need to think of a way to have don't want to call it a database, but a system in place, or maybe some spreadsheets or something where I can capture the information of these timetables that we're creating. If anyone knows how to extract that information from the save game, it's something I've wanted to look into as well. I know some of the AI scripts and things like that can, get that sort of information out, so it'll be interesting to see how that is. There's not that much documentation around the kind of what's going on in the background of the game to maybe extract it. Maybe that's probably getting a level too deep. That's intended for OpenTTD, but we'll have an experiment and see how we get going. So yeah, so there we are. We're in the City of London watching, I think, some of our underground services do the rounds. So I think we're nearly up to we've just passed 25 minutes of recording on this, so I think we'll end here. So hopefully you enjoyed understanding some of the changes that I've made with the settings. If you've got any questions on it, post it in the comment section, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.